guys, I'm reading Percy Jackson, the Titan's Curse. This is Chapter 1. My rescue operation goes very wrong. The Friday before winter break, my mom packed me an overnight bag and a few deadly weapons and took me to a new boarding school. We picked up my friends Annabeth and Dahlia on the way. It was an 8-hour drive from New York to Bar Harbor, Maine. Sleet and snow pounded the highway. Annabeth, Dahlia, and I hadn't seen each other in months, but between the blizzard and the thought of what we were about to do, we were too nervous to talk much. Except for my mom, she talks more when she's nervous. By the time we finally got to Westover Hall, it was getting dark, and she told Annabeth and Thalia every embarrassing baby story there was to tell about me. Thalia wiped the fog off the car window and peered outside. Oh yeah, this would be fun. Westover Hall looked like an evil knight's castle. It was all black stone with towers and slit windows and a big set of wooden double doors. It stood on a snowy cliff overlooking this big, frosty forest on one side and the gray churning ocean on the other. Are you sure you don't want me to wait? My mother asked. No thanks, Mom, I said. I don't know how long it will take. We'll be okay. But how will you get back? I'm worried, Percy. I hoped I wasn't blushing. It was bad enough I had to depend on my mom to drive me to my battles. It's okay, Mrs. Jackson. Annabeth smiled reassuringly. Her blonde hair was tucked into a ski cap, and her gray eyes were the same color as the ocean. We'll keep him out of trouble. My mom seemed to relax a little. She thinks Annabeth is the most level-headed demigod ever to hit 8th grade. She's sure Annabeth often keeps me from getting killed. She's right, but that doesn't mean I have to like it. All right, dears, my mom said. You have everything you need? Yes, Miss Jackson, Thalia said. Thanks for the ride. Extra sweaters? You have my cell phone number? Mom. Your ambrosia and nectar first? And, your ambrosia and nectar Percy? And a golden drachma in case you need to contact him. Mom, seriously, we'll be fine. Come on, guys. She looked a little hurt, and I was sorry about that, but I was ready to be out of that car. I lived in the bathtub when I was 3 years old. I was going to burrow into the snow and freeze myself to death. Annabeth and Thalia followed me outside. The wind blew straight through my coat like ice daggers. Once my mother's car was out of sight, Thalia said, "Your mom is so cool, Percy." She's pretty okay, I admitted. What about you? You ever get in touch with your mom? As soon as I said it, I wished I hadn't. Thalia was great at giving evil looks. What with the punk clothes she always wears, the ripped-up army jacket, black leather pants, and chain jewelry, the black eyeliner, and those intense blue eyes. But the look she gave me was a perfect evil 10. If that was any of your business, Percy. We better get inside, Annabeth interrupted. Grover will be waiting. Thalia looked at the castle and shivered. You're right. I wonder what he found here that made him send the distress call. I stared at the dark towers of Westover Hall. Nothing good, I guessed. The oak doors groaned open, and the 3 of us stepped into the entry hall in a swirl of snow. All I could say was, whoa. The place was huge. The walls were lined with battle flags and weapon displays, antique rifles, battle axes, and a bunch of other stuff. I mean, I knew Westover was a military school and all, but the decoration seemed like overkill, literally. My hand went to my pocket, where I kept my lethal ballpoint pen, grip-tied. I could always sense something wrong in this place, something dangerous. Thalia was rubbing her silver bracelet, her favorite magic item. I knew we were thinking the same thing. A fight was coming. Annabeth started to say, I wonder where the door slammed shut behind us. Okay, I mumbled. Guess we'll stay a while. I could hear music echoing from the other end of the hall. It sounded like dance music. We stashed our overnight bags behind a pillar and started down the hall. We hadn't gone very far when I heard footsteps on the stone floor, and a man and woman marched out of the shadows to intercept us. They both had short gray hair and black military-style uniforms with red trim. The woman had a wispy mustache and the guy was clean shaven, which seemed kind of backwards of me. They both walked stiffly like they had broomsticks taped to their spines. Well, the woman demanded, what are you doing here? I realized I hadn't planned for this. I'd been so focused on getting to Grover and finding out what was wrong, I hadn't considered that someone might question 3 kids sneaking to the school at night. We hadn't talked at all in the car about how we would get inside. I said, ma'am, we're just, ha, the man snapped, which made me jump. Visitors are not allowed at the dance. Rejected. He had an accent, French maybe. He pronounced the J like in Jake. He was tall with a hawkish face. Hold on, guys. Hawkish face. His nostrils flared when he spoke, which made it really hard not to stare up his nose. And his eyes were 2 different colors. One brown, one blue, like an alley cat's. I figured he was about to toss us into the snow, but then Thalia stepped forward. He did something very weird. She snapped her fingers. The sound was sharp and loud. Maybe it was just my imagination, but I felt a gust of wind ripple out from her hand across the room. It washed over all of us, making the bandage rustle on the walls. Oh, but we're not visitors, Sir, Thalia said. We go to school here. You remember I'm Thalia, and this is Annabeth and Percy. We're in the 8th grade. The male teacher narrowed his 2-colored eyes. I didn't know what Thalia was thinking. I would probably get punished for lying and thrown to the snow, but the man seemed to be hesitating. He looked at his colleague. Miss Gottschalk, do you know these students? Despite the danger we were in, I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing. A teacher named Gottschalk? He had to be kidding. The woman blinked, like someone had just woken her up from a trance. Yes, I believe I do, sir. She frowned at us. Annabeth, Thalia, Percy, what are you doing away from the gymnasium? Before we could answer, I heard more footsteps and Grover ran up breathless. You made it, you... He stopped short when he saw the teachers. Oh, Miss Gottschalk, Dr. Thorne, What is it, Mr. Underwood, said the man. His tone made it clear that he detested Grover. What do you mean they made it? These students live here. Grover swallowed. Yes, sir, of course, Dr. Thorne. I just meant I'm so glad they made the punch for the dance. The punch is great, and they made it. Dr. Thorne glared at us. I decided one of his eyes had to be fake. The brown one, the blue one, it looked like he wanted to pitch us off the castle's highest tower. But then Mrs. Gottschalk said dreamily, Yes, the punch is excellent. Now run along, all of you. You are not to leave the gymnasium again. We didn't wait to be told twice. We left with a lot of yes ma'ams and yes sirs and a couple of salutes just because it seemed like a thing to do. Grover hustled us down the hall in the direction of the music. I could feel the teacher's eyes on my back, but I walked closely to Thalia and asked in a low voice, How did you do the finger snap thing? You mean the mist? Hasn't Sharon shown you how to do that yet? An uncomfortable lump formed in my throat. Chiron was our head trainer at camp, but he never showed me anything like that. Why had he shown Thalia and not me? Grover hurried us to a door that had Gym written on the glass. Even with my dyslexia, I could read that much. That was close, Grover said. Thank the gods you got here. Annabeth and Thalia both hugged Grover. I gave him a big high five. It was good to see him after so many months. He'd gotten a little taller and sprouted a few more whiskers. But otherwise, he looked like he always did when he passed for human. A red cap on his curly brown hair to hide his goat horns, baggy jeans, and sneakers with fake feet to hide his furry legs and hooves. He was wearing a black t-shirt that took me a few seconds to read. It said West Overhaul Grunts. I wasn't sure whether that was like Grover's rank or maybe just a school motto. So what's the emergency? I asked. Grover took a deep breath. I found 2. 2 half-bloods, Thalia asked, amazed. Here? Grover nodded.
Finding one half-blood was rare enough. This year, Chiron had put the satyrs on emergency overtime and sent them all over the country scouring schools from 4th grade through high school for possible recruits. These were desperate times. We were losing campers. We needed all the new fighters we could find. The problem was there just wasn't that many demigods out there. A brother and a sister, he said. They're 10 and 12. I don't know their parentage, but they're strong. We're running out of time, though. I need help. Monsters? One? Grover looked nervous. He suspects. I don't think he's positive yet, but this is the last day of term. I'm sure he won't let them leave campus without finding out. It may be our last chance. Every time I try to get close to them, he's always there blocking me. I don't know what to do. Grover looked at Thalia desperately. I try not to feel upset by that. Used to be. Grover looked to me for answers, but Thalia had seniority. Not just because her dad was Zeus. Thalia had more experience than any of us with fending off monsters in the real world. Right, she said. These half-bloods are at the dance? Grover nodded. Then let's dance, Thalia said. Who's the monster? Oh, Grover said and looked around nervously. You just met him, the vice principal, Dr. Thorne. Weird thing about military schools, the kids go absolutely nuts when there's a special event and they get to be out of uniform. I guess it's because everything's so strict the rest of the time they feel like they got to overcompensate or something. There were black and red balloons all over the gym floor, and guys were kicking them in each other's faces or trying to strangle each other with the crepe paper streamers taped to the walls. Girls moved around in football huddles the way they always do, wearing lots of makeup and spaghetti strap tops and brightly colored pants and shoes that looked like torture devices. Every once in a while, they surround some poor guy like a pack of Pernhals, shrieking and giggling. When they finally moved on, the guy would have ribbons in his hair and a bunch of lipstick graffiti all over his face. Some of the older guys looked more like me, uncomfortable, hanging out at the edges of the gym and trying to hide like any minute they'd have to fight for their lives. Of course, in my case, it was true. There they are. Grover nodded toward a couple of younger kids arguing in the bleachers. Bianca and Nico D'Angelo. The girl wore a floppy green cap like she was trying to hide her face. The boy was obviously her little brother. They both had dark silky hair and olive skin, and they used their hands a lot as they talked. The boy was shuffling some kind of trading cards. His sister seemed to be scolding him about something. She kept looking around like she sensed something was wrong. Annabeth said, have you told them? Grover shook his head. You know how it is. That could put them in more danger. Once they realize who they are, their scent becomes stronger. He looked at me and I nodded. I never really understood what half-bloods smell like to monsters and satyrs, but I knew that your scent could get you killed. And the more powerful a demigod you became, the more you smelled like a monster's lunch. So let's grab them and get out of here, I said. I started forward, but Thalia put her hand on my shoulder. The vice principal, Dr. Thorne, had slipped out of a doorway near the bleachers and was standing near the D'Angelo siblings. He nodded coldly in our direction. His blue eyes seemed to glow. Judging from his expression, I guess Thorne hadn't been fooled by Thalia's trick with the mist after all. He suspected who we were. He was just waiting to see why we were here. Don't look at the kids, Thalia ordered. We have to wait for a chance to get them. We need to pretend we're not interested in them. Throw them off the scent. How? We're three powerful, half-bloods. Our presence should confuse them. Mingle, act natural. Do some dancing, but keep an eye on those kids. Dancing? Annabeth asked. Thalia nodded. She cocked her ear to the music and made a face. Who chose the Jesse McCartney? Grover looked hurt. I did. Oh my God, Grover, that is so lame. Can't you play like Green Day or something? Green who? Never mind, let's dance. But I can't dance. You can if I'm leading, Thalia said. Come on, goat boy. Grover yelped as Thalia grabbed his hand and led him onto the dance floor. Annabeth smiled. What? I asked. Nothing. It just cool to have Thalia back. Annabeth had grown taller than me since last summer, which I found kind of disturbing. She used to wear no jewelry except for a camp half-blood bead necklace, but now she wore little silver earrings shaped like owls, a symbol of her mother, Athena. She pulled off her ski cap and her long blonde hair tumbled down her shoulders. It made her look older for some reason. So I tried to think of something to say. Act natural, Thalia told us. When you're a half-blood on a dangerous mission, what the heck is natural? Design any good buildings lately? Annabeth's eyes lit up the way they always did when she talked about architecture. Oh my God, Percy. At my new school, I get to take 3D design as an elective, and there's this cool computer program. She went on to explain how she designed this huge monument that she wanted to build at Ground Zero in Manhattan. She talked about structural supports and facades and stuff, and I tried to listen. I knew she wanted to be a super architect when she grew up. She loves math and historical buildings and all that, but I hardly understood a word she was saying. The truth was I was kind of disappointed to hear that she liked her new school so much. It was the first time she'd gone to school in New York. I'd been hoping to see her more often. It was a boarding school in Brooklyn, and she and Thalia were both attending, close enough to Camp Half-Blood that Chiron could help if they got in any trouble. Because it was an all-girls school and I was going to MS 54 in Manhattan, I hardly ever saw them. Yeah, cool, I said. So you're staying there the rest of the year, huh? Her face got dark. Well, maybe if I don't, that'll be part 1 of chapter 1 of The Titans Curse Percy Jackson. See y'all in part 2. Bye.